Hello and welcome to the Women Between Worlds podcast. Today I have an amazing guest. It is the very gorgeous Debora Luzi. Welcome, Debora.
Hello, so nice to be here.
It's so good to have you. So Debora has come down from London to Brighton to see me here to record this podcast, and we have already had like a little cacao and a really nice conversation. So before we got too much into the conversation, I had to just come in and hit record because there's so much amazing wisdom and beauty and insights coming through in this conversation. So before we went any further, I've hit record so that we can continue our gorgeous conversation. But before we get into that, I'd just like to introduce Debora formally. Well, can you introduce yourself? Is that okay?
Of course, of course. So first of all, thank you so much for having me.
It's such a pleasure.
I've been very spoiled today being with this gorgeous woman. And my name is Debora. I am Italian, but I've been living in the UK for many, many years. And I am an entrepreneur. I am an entrepreneur at heart, a woman that is completely unemployable. That, a woman that loves to follow her passion. So I really guide women, mainly female entrepreneurs, to own their voice online and on stage, to be seen, to share their gift, their greatness, to believe in themselves and to put themselves out there in the world, because I really believe that we all came with a mission, with gift. There is with desire, and there's something beautiful that I found actually about our gift and our desire, because the word desires come from the Greek word sideris, and Sirius is the first star that appears in the sky. So it means all of our desires comes from the sky. They come from God, from the universe. So I'm really here to help women to follow their desire, and most of the time is their passion, their desire to change the world, to bring their medicine into the world.
Wow.
So, and I'm a mama as well.
Yeah.
I got 3 boys, so there's a lot of testosterone in my life. And that's why being with women is just sometimes what I need. And I escaped from London to be here with you today.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you did.
Yeah, it was lovely, really, really
It's
lovely.
been very feminine today, hasn't it? So
oh
far?
my God, exactly what I needed.
Yeah, we've been melting. I mean, first of all, that I love the way that you introduce yourself with that really deep spiritual call there, where the way that you explained the word desire and serious, and I feel like where I'd like to begin with this is, I can't remember how we met or how we know each other, but I know that we were connected online, and and I've spoken about this quite a lot, my relationship with the online space has been like under the microscope for me over the last couple of years. Since my big Facebook account that I'd had for 15 or 17 years got hacked, and someone took it over, and I lost like 4,000 connections. I think we might have been connected then, but I reopened an account, came back from Spain, and I saw that you were doing these in-person meetings, and I was just craving authenticity. I was craving in person, like sitting here next to a person, like you can feel their energy. Like, I was craving that so much, and I saw that you were offering something in London. So I'm down here in Brighton, and I thought, well, London's quite easy on the train. So I came up to your group networking meeting, which the word networking, after many, many years of being in the entrepreneurial space, gave me like a slightly funny feeling. It was like, oh, I'm going to be doing networking, and I just don't know how I feel about mixing with people again, because I'd been sitting in a yurt meditating, drinking tea, and doing all these spiritual things. So yours was the first event that I decided to go to when I was coming out of like a huge rebirth. And I think we get called to be with and work with and spend time with people for a reason, because when I got there and when I experienced what you do with those networking events, it was so deep. It was so it went so much deeper than just standing there talking about your business to other women. And it had that as well. right? And I don't know if you remember, but the first time I had my 90 seconds to stand up and speak, I think I just started crying. And I
Yeah.
said how I'd had a miscarriage and I was going through like this big transformation. And that was just what was on my heart and what wanted to come out.
Mm.
And then what happened for me afterwards, I found lots of women came up to me either in the space or afterwards, they messaged me on social media saying, thank you so much for your authenticity and for saying that. I also had a miscarriage, or I also am going through an end of an abusive relationship, or I'm also, and these women began to kind of connect with me. And I felt this sadness that they didn't feel they could do that in that space, and they felt that they had to show up as the entrepreneur woman. So that's like, that was how I got connected with you. And I feel that you offer something, and this is my questions coming, you offer something that kind of bridges this very spiritual space where we might be, I don't know, doing cards and drinking cacao and doing these things and crystals and all that kind of stuff, right? And then you put it in London, in like by London Bridge, I think it is, with a
beautiful venue by the
with a view of the
river.
Thames,
And oh, look at the sun.
with amazing women. Like some, you know, they're all amazing women, but some of the women there are very successful, because I think that's important as well, that we have, you know, that we're mixing with people that are running successful businesses. So like, just tell me a little bit about how, like, why you do that, how that came about, and like what's your view on it, because you know mine, right?
I know. So obviously I loved networking for many, many years, and I just love connecting with people. I used to work in corporate, and actually I had to go and do business networking. And believe it or not, Sarah, I was the one hiding on a corner, pretending that I had to go to the toilet every 5 seconds and being on my phone, because I just, I can be quite an introvert. I had, when people say you're either introvert or extrovert, I believe we're both.
Yeah,
I really believe in duality, and we are the moon and the sun, we are the water and fire, I really believe in that. And so I always had this love for networking, but also fear. But then obviously it helped me to really boost my confidence, because sometimes when we fear networking, and it's a bit about, do I have something good to share? Am I worth it? Do I have something interesting to say? Does this, do these people really want me to be there? I think we make it a lot about our fears and our belief when we start mixing with other people. And so then I left the corporate and I started to network. And at one stage I was in 6 networking events, and networking worked really well for me. Like it happened for you. I would go and people would give me a script like, okay, so you say, I'm Debora Luzi, I am an entrepreneur, I do that. And I would always rebel against the script. And I would go and tell a story and forget about my business. And I was like, oh, this morning my kids asked me this question, and like making human, and then I was like, oh, by the way, I'm an entrepreneur. I got this program if you want to buy, something like that. And I was like, okay. And really connected. So I noticed that, I was literally very successful. People were coming and signing up to my thing. And I was like, but I don't do any of the things that everybody does. And so one day I did a masterclass because people are like, how do you do it, Debora? And I said, I don't know. So I taught people how to network from the heart. Go in not with an intention, I need to sell, I need to, she's like, we see people and it's like the dollar sign, it's like the pound sign, it's like, ding.
Yeah.
She's like, she can come. So really approaching networking with the heart, with like, I want to meet people exactly like you felt. But it's hard to combine the both. And there was a part of you that actually felt, oh my God, this is it's hard because we need to find a balance. We are in the end business women, so it's hard to find that. And so I did this masterclass, so many people coming in, and I told them how to pitch, making fun. I used to be an actress, pitching with Spider-Man masks and all of these kind of things, bringing storytelling, bringing art into the pitches, and, I call it pitches.
Yeah.
And just bringing their heart before what they sell. And then one day, people said, why don't you do a networking? And I was like, never, ever. Like, don't even tell me. And that's why I think we say in Italy, never drink from that tap. I've said like something, never drink from that tap. Never say I will never drink from that tap.
Yeah.
And then you drink from that tap. So I said never, and I ended up doing a post one day and say, hey, I'm doing a networking, and who wants to come? And I found a venue, and I remember calling the venue, and I said to them, yeah, I think we're going to have about 8 to 10 women. And, I felt really shy, Sarah, because I was like, if I don't get 8 women, this guy's going to think I'm a fraud. I said, yeah, I'm just doing an event. And within a week, I called and said, sorry, what's your maximum capacity? He said 24. And I said, oh, I have 28.
Wow.
Can we squeeze them in?
Wow.
This is like, and again, no strategy. And this is what I love. I went in this project with all of my project just with desire, with that desirous, with a desire to connect women, to bring the business, but also bring the woman. And in fact, the networking we do, the cards, do you remember we have, like you connect with each other.
The question,
and then we do mastermind. Yeah. And we have moments where, I want them to connect. We do the 90 second because it's important. Some women, I want them to. Also for me, the 90 second, I call it shine your light. I don't call it picture 90 second. I'm like, that's your time. Go there, shine your light. You want to make us laugh. You want to tell us a riddle. You want to dance.
Yeah, I remember that from you.
Remember.
Yeah.
And I know you don't have to sell out or promote. And
so true.
Just do that. And then, so I created and I gave myself a year and I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no sales page, like professional, nothing. I just put something on a Google document.
Yeah.
And people, it's just been incredible. And this is really one of the passion that I want to bring into the world, Sarah, because there is something that I say at my networking. One day I was talking about graveyard. And I think unfortunately, a lot of women have a lot of ideas, beautiful ideas. And then they put it on the graveyard. And the cemetery is full. I wish I did a networking. I wish I would do a retreat. I wish I would do this. I wish I would travel the world and, create a stage for women. I wish I would start that. And so many women have this dream, this desire that are actually from the stars, from God, from the universe, and they literally bury it.
Why is that?
In a graveyard.
Why are they doing that?
Fear. They believe that I'm not meant to, I'm not good enough. How is it going to be well received? And that is the thing, is like, there is such a fine line, between fear and desire. And that's why one of my tagline when I speak to women is like, what is bigger, your fear or your desire? And 80% it's the fear, the desire is bigger, but the fear is dominating the desire. And so the desire is there. God has given it to you. You got a star that is guiding you. And you're like, I can't, I'm not good, I'm terrible. I'm Italian, I got a terrible accent. And it's like,
accent.
it's like, who's gonna come to my network? And I don't even have an experience. And but then I was like, well, I got the star is there. And so I said, I need to listen. And so this is what I love with the Daring Woman, with my work. It's getting that desire out of the women. And it is not easy, Sarah, it's not easy because we are so conditioned. We are, especially when we go for what we want as women, we don't feel safe. I teach women how to go out there and share their gift. 80% of them, so many people I work with, is like, I'm scared.
What are they scared of, do you think?
They're scared of being attacked. They're scared of being belittled. They're
Makes me feel
scared.
emotional hearing you say that.
Yeah.
Oof.
They're scared, and this is a reality, and some people could say, it's the witch wound, like, many people talk about the witch wound when it comes. I don't go into details on that, but a lot of people talks about that because women, we've been persecuted, we've been silenced. And when there was the woman that it was like, yeah, let's go, the revolutionary woman, she was silenced. She was burned. She was said, you're crazy, put in a psychotic hospital, and so I think we carry in a way that, and I work with so many, like sometimes I work with women and say, Debora, I have this idea, and I'm like, my jaw drops, and I'm like, do you know how good this is? And I was like, no. Are you sure? And I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is genius. They don't see it. And then I said, put it out there. And then there is the fear of the family, what the husband is thinking, the mother-in-law, the community. What if women are going to start hating me? Because, we carry a lot of that. When I notice when a woman rise, we wish the sisterhood dominate, like triumph. But many times the opposite happens. A lot of the time when a woman like elevate, if you want to call it, there is a lot of jealousy.
Yeah.
There is a lot of,
or perceived, even perceived. So even if that's not there, even if the women around them are, lifting them up and rising with them, there might be that perception that there's going to be jealousy, or there might be that perception that of being attacked, but whether that's real or not I think there's two layers to it, or there's many layers, but there's the layer of, there is that reality of, if you risk yourself and you put yourself out there, you are going to receive. So there is some reality to it. You are going to receive some,
it's inevitable,
negative
it's
feedback,
inevitable.
Criticism, but then there's also the imagined, like the perception of it. And when you were speaking about desire, so there's like the desire and then there's the fear, right? So these are like the two main areas that you're working with. Something, as I see it, and I'd be interested to see how you perceive it, is the desire is not even necessarily that woman's desire. It's an implanted program of what she has been conditioned by society, culture, her upbringing, her family, everything. It's what she's been conditioned to believe that she wants or should have. So I've experienced myself as well through my entrepreneurial journey. There's been many times where I've reached for something and it's not been my desire, but it's been something that I've been told I should have. And that comes down to money as well. So I've had times in my life where you mentioned rebel. I think that's something I really love about you and why I was so drawn to you. I think we're both like pretty big rebels, right? But as a rebel, if people start telling me, especially in the online space, which is a very new magical space, right? Which I would like to talk about that as well with you soon. But especially in the online space, I feel like I've been told what I should want as an entrepreneur, as a woman in business. I've been told what my life should look like. And I know I feel we've really shifted out of that in the last couple of years, where, what I'm talking about, the laptop lifestyle, the traveling all the time, and you know what I mean,
like the luxurious lifestyle.
Yeah, the coachy kind of things. Like I'm sitting there with a coffee in a nice trendy coffee shop, or there was this whole lifestyle that really put me off. And I think the rebel in me said, well, fuck that, because that's not my idea of the good life. Like my idea of the good life and what my desires are and what's driving me could be really different to another woman. So like, what's your experience with the women that you work with? How do they get into that desire in the first place? And how do you know whether it's your desire or it's just something you've been conditioned?
I love that, actually, because a lot of desire, and that is, I use a lot, Gene Key and human design, to find your true life purpose, your true star, your true, really serious, the star, what you came here to do. But to be honest, I think discovering our desire is a journey. And the journey of living what you think is not your desire is part of finding your desire. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, for example, I'm just inventing your desire is to live a certain lifestyle and to become an entrepreneur living in Bali in a tent. I'm just inventing. So that is your desire. So your journey to get to that desire will have to go through the desire of maybe you end up, in a laptop or with a Gucci bag and so I really believe that everything is a journey. So that perceived desire by other people will be on a way. You must experience it. Because again, we must experience duality as well to understand how to understand what is bad from the good, what is in the opposite. So I think you really need to go through what you think is your desire to get to really what your desire is.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I see that a lot, especially I'm not a 7-figure coach, but I see a lot of the time people talk about 7-figure. And and I really believe that the people that get in there, they need to experience this, like, oh, you need to have this type of lifestyle. And then they experience it, and then they get to 7-figure and they say, it's not about the money. It's like, well, how can I invest my money to change the world? But they wouldn't have got there if they haven't gone through clashing with the duality, clashing with what is actually, this is how your desire should look like. You're an entrepreneur, you need to look like that. You need to take a picture in front of a lot. Like, I hate, if you ever look at my picture, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm like, and I'm like, all like fashion. When I do a photo shoot, I say to them, I've done some of that. I was like, I don't want a cup of tea. We're not going to go in a coffee shop. I don't want a laptop.
Yeah.
I was like, imagine that I am like a diva and, like doing a photo shoot because I know I grew up, we're talking about beauty. I grew up in fashion magazine because my mom was sewing for Armani.
Oh, wow.
And so I grew up with a lot of fashion. So my photo shoot is like art, and I don't care to show up in a certain way, professional. And I think the journey to finding what is your desire and I love what you said, your entrepreneurial journey is yours. You build it, you create it, but to create it and to understand, you need to really experience different things,
So I have some reflections on that because as you're speaking and you're talking about duality and you're talking about experiencing something, part of me saying, but isn't that why we have mentors? And isn't that why so that they can help us kind of skip that awkward phase of like making the mistakes and doing that journey. And I think that's been in of itself an idea that's been sold to us in the coaching industry, which is, so in the past, so I've done a lot of work around the history of women and medicine women and shamanism. And in the past, the women's wisdom would have been imparted in really different ways, right? Really different ways. We would have been surrounded by our elders, which that whole part of community and culture is missing. Probably in Italy it was a lot stronger when you grew up, but I imagine even now in Italy it's probably, you left. So the wisdom in our communities has been kind of dissipated and it's been spread out everywhere. So I think we've had this like gap in culture and community where we haven't had the wise woman, we haven't had the elder, we haven't had the role model that could not do the work for us, right? Not be the kind of bossy telling someone, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that, but really sitting there and giving the feedback and the wisdom of her experience and showing that as a guide, as a container. I think that masculine energy we're talking about, the container, the holding of the space for the women that are coming up. So I feel like what happened in the coaching industry was we kind of saw this opportunity to almost skip that step and say, here I am, I have done what you want to do. I am going to save you all of this time that it took me to get here, and show you, like, you know, guide you so that you don't have the same pitfalls that I had, right? Are you with me?
I'm following you where you're going, because oh my God, this is such an interesting conversation, because yeah, I'm waiting for you to see where you're going, because I love this.
I'm kind of flowing with it.
Yeah, just flow with it, because
flowing with it.
I have, like, you know, you're really going to a big opinion that I have about this, and I love it. Yeah.
So when you were speaking to saying, I believe the women have to kind of go on the path to then discover that's not their path.
Yeah.
I can still feel a part of me that wants to say, no, they shouldn't have to do that. We should be, I know I'm using a lot of really definite language. We should do this, we should do that. You know, this is just a part of me that's got like these little, these things that wants to come and speak on this. It's like we should know better. We should be in a position where we can fast track and we can move through. And I see people who do this, and this is what a lot of the coaching space was selling to us, I believe, in the last 10 years, like since I've been heavily in the space.
Yeah.
But so when you were speaking, I was feeling like a resistance to what you're saying. But I also feel that we're in new territory now. We're in a we're becoming wiser in the online space. We're maturing with the space, and we're realizing, yes, we have the internet, and the internet can provide magic. It literally is like consciousness through the screen, right? It's like the mycelium. It's connecting all our thoughts and ideas. If we want to find something out, we can just Google, we can look. Now we've got AI. Like I'm Aquarian, so I love all this stuff, right? I love technology.
No, I don't love AI.
I'm a lover. I'm a lover of technology.
AI. Oh my God.
So we have all of this stuff, and I think the speed at which things are just changing now and growing, that we do see people that do have this fast track success, that seem to get there really quickly, that seem to be able to like bypass a lot of the journey and really like get to this space, whatever that get to that space is. So when you're speaking to having to go to find something and then realize maybe you don't really want it or whatever, it's like I felt some resistance come up. Like
it's not about not want. Finish what tell me.
But then the spiritual part of me says it is all about the journey. None of it is about a destination. None of it is about the reaching this amount of money or reaching this. And so somewhere there has to be this amalgamation of how much of it is the journey and how much of it, because if it was just the journey, you'd never get your desires, right? We talked about desires. It's like, I want my desires. I want to bring them into reality and have and experience those. So
enjoying both,
right?
Going on the journey and on the desire. And there is something that you don't agree maybe with me, and some people will agree or some people don't. And I love what you say, because it's a big discussion for me. And I love that how we have in different view, because this is what the beauty of the word is, being able to share different views. And my view on the fast track, I don't believe in a fast track. To be honest, also this comes, sorry if I may bring it in, but in human design, I'm a 3/5. I'm a line 3/5. The line 3, so I'm talking from really my unique way of being. What does it mean being a line 3? It's a line of trials and error.
Okay.
And that's why I have this view.
Yeah.
For me, if I don't trials and error, I'm not embodying my essence. So when I see online, I remember this guy was very big on Instagram. I think he started this kind of, like you said, I got the formula so that you don't have to go through the pain, through the experiences. My first reaction, Sarah, was like, I don't want your already packed, I get their wisdom. I want to go through the mud. I want to go and explore. I want to fall. I want to start again. I want to fall and come back. I want to fall on my feet, bang my head on the wall. I want to say, oh my God, I don't want a formula to get to my desire.
Oh, I feel emotional.
I
really feel that.
Yes, I want, and this comes from a line 3.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying to women, and again, some people, so many people online said, I would never say to a woman, yeah, sometimes I talk about my 3-step methodology thing, but I'm like, come with me, let's fall, let's rise, let's bang. Because to me, understanding who you are is going through, you can't tell me with your formula who I am. You can't tell me with your formula what I desire.
Yeah.
And that's why to understand, you need to go through the different, it's like, for example, I just have this example, going through the season. So how do you understand what is your favorite season? Spring, autumn, winter, or summer? Somebody comes, your favorite season, it's summer. And that is where the success is. I'm not buying into it. And I'm like, well, but how is autumn? I want to experience winter. And just let me go on the journey. No, 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 no. I saved the journey for you. Just go into the summer. Summer is the best, is the millionaire path. And I'm putting my boots on, my Wellington boots, and I do this like Italian. And I'm like, the rucksack. And I'm like, I am going on my journey. And I'm telling you from the other side, what is my favorite season? You don't tell me. And then I go in the winter and I fall and I get frost bites and I'm like, why didn't I choose summer? Why didn't I have to do this? And then I go in the summer melting and like, and I was like, oh, why didn't I just got the formula? Would have been easier. And I'm there melting and then I come out and I'm like, my favorite season is this.
Ah, I love that. I
It
love
just
that.
came to me, but
I love it. This is just
and this is my line 3, it's like it comes from there. I can't resist for me, and I start to accept that, Sarah, because there's never failures, and
But this energy
yeah.
that you're speaking from, which is really visceral, like I can really feel it in my body when you're speaking about this. This energy I feel has been lacking in these spaces. And it makes me think of a movie, because I think a lot in movies, right? My daughter she's going to be a movie director, producer, and we have a lot of like
Amazing.
movie metaphors, but there's this movie called Click. I don't know if you've seen it, it's old.
I'm gonna go and Google it now.
And in this
and watch
movie,
it. Yes.
he gets a remote control that allows him to fast forward through moments of his life that might be a little bit boring so that he can get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
So he literally has a remote, like a TV remote control. And so when he's having an argument with his wife, he fast forwards like this until they get to the makeup sex and they're happy again.
Oh.
And then something boring's happening at work, like some boring meeting, a board meeting. So he's like, and then he just fast forwards through his life. And if you haven't seen it, I won't give it away.
It's on
But
my list. Yeah, don't tell me. Like,
but
click.
I'm pretty
Okay.
sure you can get. It's Adam Sandler. He's great.
Okay. Oh,
Pretty sure you can get the
so
idea.
it's kind of funny as
It's
well.
funny.
Yeah,
It is
all right.
funny, but it's deep and it's a bit like
Okay.
it's a bit gut wrenching.
Oh,
But
okay.
really, it's like it's the without the spoiler. There's no spoiler, but like he fast forwards through his life. And he gets to a point where he's missed so much. He's missed the beauty, he's missed the life, the actual living of the life.
The beauty of duality.
By fast forwarding through all the bits that he perceived as bad. So when you speak to like this journey, this discovery, it's like I want more of that. Like I want to hear more of that in the space, and I want to see more women feeling brave enough to embrace the journey, because when I sit into the fear that we were speaking about and the witch wound and the fear of attack and the other things that women are feeling, I feel so much empathy for why they don't want to do the journey. It's a bit like, it reminds me of motherhood and of childbirth, because like after just in the last month of my pregnancy with my eldest, who's 20, I discovered hypnobirthing, and it was like it opened up this whole world to me of, wait, is there a way of giving birth that isn't really painful, really difficult, really scary, dangerous, and all these things that we're kind of conditioned to believe that birth is, and it is some of those things, right? I'm not saying that it can't be those, that it can be those things. And I discovered it right at the end of my pregnancy, and I was so passionate about it after she was born, even though I had a really difficult birth with her.
Yeah.
I trained to be a hypnobirthing consultant. So I became a teacher of this, of women learning to enjoy birth, to work through their pregnancies with, you know, the power of their own mind, their own thoughts, their conditioning, and their physical bodies as well, so that they could go into birth not with any promise that it was going to be easy or painless, although some practitioners do make those claims, and it can be those things. It can be very blissful, it can be orgasmic, like birth can be so many things. But really, so much of that work was around fear and programming, and women having the resistance to taking the journey because they'd been offered the shortcut. So when we were talking about the method, the shortcut, what's the shortcut, you know? And there's no judgment here to anyone who's had these things. I've had all of these things, but, you know, the epidural.
I had many shortcuts in my life.
The epidural,
like,
the cesarean.
Yeah.
It's like we're offered these shortcuts, but then really it, even with childbirth, which even to, you know, even maybe to a lot of the women listening to this might seem a stretch if they haven't, you know, if they don't have children or if they haven't got involved in this area. But, you know, not wanting to shortcut the things that we've been conditioned to believe are not worth our time and attention. Like, why would a woman spend 10 hours or whatever in labor if she could do it like this? If someone could just open her up and cut the baby out. And of course, just because we can do something, it doesn't mean that we should, right?
We are really taking away a lot of experiences from the human
experiences,
you know, from the human life. And that's why, you know, I'm not saying that we need to suffer, we need to pain at all. I think we need to experience things in the full length and the full, like, you know, beauty, again, going to beauty. Because, yeah, sometimes shortcuts are beautiful, but also living the full experience is really what we want to create. And actually, this is very scary because we are going into a world of shortcuts.
Yeah. Quick fixes, shortcuts.
Everything is about quick fixes. Like, you know, do this in 90 days, do this in 7 days, do this in, you know, and you're left there like bypassing and suppressing. It's like, okay, you know, in 90 days, I got to do this, or I can't feel like this, I need to feel like that. And so, like, I love, you know, also I love the work that you do, because I think the work that you do, it's really not going through the shortcuts, but finding, you know, like connecting to who you are and listening to the body, listening to the feelings, and allowing everything to come, not to suppress. Like, for example, we're talking about pills, and, you know, we were talking about antidepressant, and you know, we're going a little bit, I love this conversation, we're going a little bit everywhere. And, you know, again, sometimes they are necessary. But again, like, you know, a painkiller or something like that, it's a shortcut.
Yeah.
You know, it's a shortcut to numb the body, not to feel.
Yeah.
But maybe the body is like, I want to feel.
I want to feel. You know,
I just want to feel, you know, just for today, just because also when the body is in pain is a message, no? So, yeah, I think it's very difficult to balance all of the things, but
I think recognizing that is so important. I think the recognition that saying that I'm not selling anything or any ideal to you where I'm saying this is going to be easy and this is going to be a shortcut or a quick fix, because I've seen that you've done a lot of work in speaking, and you mentioned that you help women kind of, I know I'm not using your words, but you, from what I've seen of your work, you help women like find their voice, and you also have events where you put women on stage. I'm so direct in the way I speak. I know it's so much more like beautiful. You put women on stage.
We need to, yeah,
but
it's fine.
You put women on stage, and
I add some
you have
spice and
like you create these like magical containers, environments where women are able to like push their comfort zone, like push their get outside of their fears, right? Where women can walk through the fear. And what it brings to mind, have you seen those? There are people who walk on hot coals, and you can go and do that as an experience. So they train you. You need like a few hours or a day with an instructor. And they do something where they, you know, they really program your mind, and they do all this preparation work so that in the afternoon or the evening, they put down the hot burning coals and you walk on them, right? And then maybe in the beginning of the day, you feel like there is no way I can do that. Like there is, and there's all this fear. And so I had like, this is a metaphor coming through for you, Deborah, with when I see you've run an event and in a beautiful like in a theater or in some kind of space, like a big space.
Yeah, it was a theater.
Theater. Well, because I haven't been, so but I've seen what you do in pictures and videos. And women go on stage and you really give them a platform where they can speak in front of large groups of people and have that experience and know what it's like. I mean, I know there's probably like a whole process that you have, and I don't know how much is feasible to share right now, but I'm just wondering, like, how do you do that? Because you're talking about the body, right? Wanting to have its emotion. So let me take, if I'm one of your clients and I have this massive fear of public speaking, and my body is physically shaking and my voice is shaking, and I've got all the like, what do I do with that? How do I get through that? Like with Deborah's help.
Maybe you're talking to the wrong woman now. I actually been you know, my opinion, again, this is who I am. And I have quite a few people that don't agree with me online when I do posts of this type.
Okay, good. I like it already.
Yes. So you might not resonate, but again, it's just who I am. So I really fully believe that if you want to break a fear, you need to do the very things that you fear.
Right.
And so I hold space for them. And I remember I had one of my speakers, because I put speakers that have never spoken before. And for me, I remember people telling me, because, you know, actually I did a post today that I got always 100 people in my conference with no speaking profile. And people were like, oh, you're not going to get anyone. You need to have a keynote speaker, like somebody famous. And I was like, no, there's YouTube for them. I don't need to have them on my stage. I want my women that, you know, they haven't spoken or anything like that. And this woman spoke on stage for the first time. So I hold space before we go on stage. Sorry. I had a woman, I'm not experienced in somatic work. So I have a woman doing a circle before we go on stage. I train them, and this lady comes in doing somatic, so to help them calibrate, like calm the body. And I hold the space for them. And this woman went on stage, and her 10 minutes was literally like, her voice was like like you could see. And I was there, and I was like, and that was, she stayed there. We hold the space for her, and she said, it's done. It is incredible. It's like she was there with her biggest fear, because like, I don't want to wait for you to have that fear disappear, your voice nose cracking. You know, who cares if your voice, like, we were there, the audience was like, and she was like, you know, like really could see her voice and the fears. And by the end, you could see it was 10 minutes. And by the 5th minute, she was like coming down. I was looking at her, I was nodding. It's a very Italian way. When we, you know, I said to her, you know, I'm your point if you want to look at me. And I nod and I put my hand in my, you know, just really little things. And she calmed down. I taught her how to breathe, because obviously I used to act as well. So I teach some, you know, some of the work, like some of the reassurance for the body. And that was her experience. Yeah. And then I had another, if I may share, another one, where the woman never spoke. She spoke about something very, very vulnerable. And we go on stage. That was, you know, we had a panel. So when I do the conference, I have a panels of mothers, because obviously I'm a mother. And for me, it's very important that we showcase mothers who are entrepreneurs who are mothers.
Right.
Because, I truly believe we have a different experience, and it's not less or more than people that are not mothers, but it's a different experience. So I want people to see.
Mm.
And this woman, she went through quite a bit of trauma. And so completely shaking in the chair, she was like literally, like you could see her hand set next to her. She started talking and she froze. She said, I can't do it. And she was crying. And you know, Sarah, I don't give an S if my audience needs to wait for her to calibrate. Okay? They wait. I'm not there to entertain with amazing speaker. We're like, hi, my life was a piece of cake and I was born a millionaire. And you know the story of I lived under a bridge? No, I was born with a star. And so my life was a piece of cake.
And here's the shortcut to
And
doing
here's
the
the
same.
shortcut to do the same. I'm not interested in these people.
Wow.
So this woman literally on my stage, there was silence for 5 minutes. I didn't give an S. I hold her hand. She said, I'm going to go. And I was like, no, stay. I was trying to, again, because I'm there to, like, stay. She was like, I was just give it a moment. I'm okay. She probably was worried, I'm ruining your conference. You're not ruining my conference. If people in the audience cannot hold and cannot, no, you want a talk show where they try a million times to get the right sentence, go to the talk show. You don't come to my conference. So I hold her hand, we waited, she cried. We just waited. There was silence.
This is amazing. Sorry.
Yeah, and then she spoke.
Then she spoke.
And then she spoke and she didn't leave. And I feel emotional myself. It's like, that was what she needed.
Yeah.
And I don't need perfect speakers in my stage. When people, maybe one day I will, like the networking, like never drink from water, whatever it is that maybe I'll have. But at the moment, if you're famous, there's many stages for you.
I mean, I want to say something about what I feel when you're saying, and what I see when you're saying, is beyond the work that you're doing with the woman. So there's the woman on the stage. Your work is actually so much wider than that, because you're really training the audience by your leadership. You are training the audience to hold the space with you, because this is what I think is so lacking, is people's comfortability with being uncomfortable with other people experiencing their emotions. And so we can do all the training with individual women, somatic training, techniques, all of these things about, feeling our feelings and being in our bodies. But if the environment around us is still unsafe, then it's very hard for us to make a change as a culture, as a society, right? So like, as an example, grief. A person who's grieving is a very uncomfortable person to be around for other people who aren't comfortable with grief, right? So when I had my miscarriage and I was crying every day, I was just literally, it was in so many ways such a freeing experience, because I like beauty, I like makeup, I was very addicted to wearing mascara, and all through my grieving period I had to just completely give up on using makeup, because every day in just random moments I would just have this big need to have big sobs, big cries. So I stopped wearing makeup, and I would cry in the most inconvenient places. Like I would cry on the school run. I would cry in meetings, in networking events where I've gone to like meet with other women.
People cry in my networking. I love it. I let them.
But I think it's what's really important, and what I was seeing, like the vision I was having as you were describing these experiences, is you are setting the tone of being the person who is allowing, of course we don't have to allow people to have their feelings, but the freedom for that person to have their experience exactly as it is without trying to change it.
No expectation.
And just allowing that person to have, and I think, so that's what was coming through for me, because I was thinking, well, I could have you on my side, like as my coach, my mentor, or whatever, and I could feel really comforted by that and have you in the audience. But really, what you're doing is training the whole audience to join you in that patience, in that
I like that.
comfortability with, like when you said, no one is gonna, like, if she's not speaking, she's not speaking, no one is gonna, that's what you're doing. And you're giving permission, and it makes sense to me why I did, just go up and start speaking, because I didn't know on that day when I came networking, I didn't have any plan to stand up there and say, I just had a baby and it died, and I didn't plan to say that, because and even in these very spiritual healing spaces, I'm always surprised by the amount of people that when they begin to have a visceral experience and emotion come through, apologize for that and say, even in those spaces that we see as very sacred spaces where people can cry and grieve or get, whatever emotion needs to come through the body within reason, so you're with other people. People still say, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for bringing the energy down. I'm sorry for bringing this. People apologize for their experience.
It's a very British thing.
Is it?
I have to say I'm Italian. I have to say in Italy, we don't say sorry as much. It's really, like I've learned to say sorry here, like a lot.
Oh, no.
No, but, now it's like I'm sorry and everything. But
someone bumps into you in a supermarket in England, and you say sorry that they've bumped into you. That's the kind of thing. Yeah.
And and I think it's a lot, with the culture. I mean, obviously I'm Italian, I see different things, but I really see that. But beyond being British or being Italian, it's not the word sorry, but it's like people, like you said, and that's why people are not visible online. People are not following their desire because they feel they're going to hurt somebody, because they feel they need to apologize, because they feel they need to give an excuse, because they feel, oh my God, you're expecting something from me. So actually, look, everything is like a loop. We're creating a loop. It's beautiful conversation, by the way. I think it's the best podcast I ever heard.
Great.
And I haven't been on to. Oh my God, I love this. And yeah, so it really goes back to that loop of, that's why we don't follow our desire, and because we put so much expectation on, what other people think, what other people, we think we need to apologize for what we are. It's like us, we need to apologize for wanting a bag. We want to apologize for wanting a spa day, and so we apologize for the star, for the series, for what we desire. It's like, oh. And so, I think, we came on a loop on that.
Something that's just been so present for me, because I know that you're a mum, and you're a mum of three boys.
Three boys, yeah.
So you've got 3 boys, and you live with your 3 boys and your husband. I'm just thinking, what made you so passionate about doing this work with women? What is it about helping women where did that come from within you? Like, why aren't you doing this for everybody, for men or children, or like, where did the passion for helping women with this come from?
What a beautiful question. First of all, I really believe that. Sometimes I remember when I wanted a little girl and I said, why God is giving me 3 boys? But I really understand, which I won't go into that. There was so many lessons, the reason why I had boys. But the reason why I want to do this work is really my mom. One of the movement of the conference called Women Who Dare to Desire. My mom was called Women Who Dare to Desire. So there's a lot of daring in because I've been quite a daring woman. My mom was a manifestor, and they're very unique being, very in their own league. Like, I wish I knew before that she was, you know, in a certain way, but it's very easy to judge. It's like, oh, you're selfish, you want it your way and things like that. My mom was a gorgeous woman. She was a woman that she fell in love with my dad, which was an Italian Latin lover, breaking the hearts of so many women. And he broke my mom's hearts, and she fell pregnant, and then she lost my brother, which, you know, he literally was 1 day old when, so I never met him. And I think his death is why I'm here, to be honest, because I don't think my mother would have had another child, because I'm the third one. She would have probably stopped on my sister. And my mom was a beautiful woman with lots of desires. She loved fashion. She loved beauty. You know, she would always go out and she would go and dump the rubbish and put lipstick. And I was like, Mom, where are you going? You put the rubbish. And she was like, you never know who you're going to meet, even by the rubbish bin. And I was like, okay. So if you, like, now I don't have, but I always have red in honor of my mom. And I just been given this, you know, so I have this color. I always have red to honor my mom. And so I saw her. She was always like this on the bed with the feet up, you know, on the bed, and dreaming in lands and dreaming of this man, you know, treating her to dinners and roses and having the beautiful lifestyle and traveling. But it never quite happened for her because she loved my dad too much. She did, like, kind of rebelled a little bit with my dad. And so I saw this woman, and she died 2 years ago. And I think she really died with her song unsung. Heart. And so I can't allow more women to have that song sung. I know that my mom wanted a different life for herself. And, you know, I think women before were different as well. And it was really hard, you know, for her. And so I want women to get to the end and say, I've done everything I wanted. I ate my fear for breakfast. And life was just beautiful. And that's all I want. And I know that my mom is watching, is guiding me to do that. And yeah, this is it. Just very simple, very, very simple.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really honoring. What's your mom's name?
Florisse.
Florissa.
Florisse, which in Florisse comes from flower. Because in Italian, fiore is flower. And it's you won't find, I don't think you find any other woman that is called Florisse like her. Florisse. And she was as beautiful as a flower. And in the grave, we have picture of her, and that's why you always see me wearing flowers. Like now I have a hearing that this is a flower, or I have a flower in my head.
Honor your mom.
Yeah.
Honor your mama.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Mama.
There's a couple of things I want to ask you before we finish up.
Yeah.
And I'm conscious of there's a new topic, so I think you're going to have to come back.
Yeah,
because I have a whole new topic around.
I actually don't mind.
Around beauty.
Tell me when.
Femininity, women, beauty, and aging.
What a topic.
I would love to have you back to talk about that, because you just told me in the kitchen you're going to be 50.
I'm going to be 50.
You're going to be 50 this year.
Yeah.
I'm turning 46, and it's a huge topic for me. And I think it's so important as well as women in the entrepreneurial space. What does it mean? What does beauty mean? What does our love of beauty mean in terms of our desires? And also, how do we show up with our beauty? How do we do that in an authentic way? You know, and through my body transformation work for years, I was very happy standing in a bikini and underwear, being on social media. And, I had a lot of criticism for that. I had a lot of, people really criticizing and people saying you're just trying to get attention. Or so I would love to have you back to speak around like beauty and visibility and how we
So
show ourselves and
interesting.
photography and all of that. So I would love that. So I'm going to
Yeah.
park that
Yeah,
one.
we parked that. So you gotta come back,
Yeah, I gotta come
listener.
back for
Yeah,
another
you're
one.
gonna
You have to
watch.
come back.
All right, and you listener, whoever's
She's
listening.
committed. She committed.
Well, if I've been treated like this, I'm coming back many times.
But I wanted to,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, I guess it's kind of a personal question, but I wanted to
Okay.
kind of maybe wrap it up around this.
Yeah.
This desire that you have to help other women so that they don't have like their song unsung. Where are you with this in your personal journey? Like how if let's just because I kind of like these number things, right? Let's do out of 10. If 10 out of 10 was completely singing, having your song sung, like living your full breadth and all of your desires, where are you right now, do you think? And then the next question on that, once you felt into that, will be like, of what's comfortable for you to share publicly, right? What's your next step?
Yeah, a number came to mind.
Yeah.
Which can sound quite low, but again, because my desire is big.
Yeah.
So, and I think any woman that would say 10, I don't think it's true. It's like when we say, I'm authentic. When I ask, are you authentic? Yeah, 10. There's never.
Or maybe on your deathbed, it'd be something on the deathbed, like, oh, I'm 10 out of 10 now for everything I wanted to do.
Yeah,
so we're midlife. So
yeah, I think at the moment I could be very close to 7, in the sense that sometimes I sit and there is certain things that I want in my life and material desire, as well.
Yeah.
But there is a part of me is like, I'm a mother. I have given birth. I have 3 beautiful boys. I divorced and I got married again. I got a beautiful husband. I've traveled the world. I was a backpacker. I've seen more than 50 countries. I've wrote 3 books.
Wow.
I've done conferences. I'm doing what I love. And I don't look that bad. I don't look that bad still for 50. My body is functioning. I wake up every morning and I go to the park and I go to the gym. And entrepreneurship gave me freedom to come here, take the day and come here, literally. Yeah. So to be honest, it's not bad.
7 is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not bad. There was a part of me is like 6.5. But yeah, 6.45 maybe.
Well, sometimes when I give out of 10s, I say, and you can't say 7. Oh, and you hit the 7. I was like, I'm not going to give any condition.
You have to tell me your number now. Let's see. The host number, ladies and gentlemen, is.
I would say right now, I would probably put myself about a 5. I would put myself about a 5, and it's not a scale of happiness and contentness, because I would say my happiness and contentness is much higher than that. That's probably more like an 8. But in terms of my unsung song, I think I'm only scratching the surface. I think I'm only, and even 5 is generous because that presumes I'm halfway there. And I think I'm a bit of an optimist. So for me, 50% is good. It's like, well, that's good. That's halfway there.
It's very good.
So I would put it about 5. I think that in midlife, since I got into my 40s, I still felt very, very young when I turned 40. And it was only really when I started to get to my mid-40s that I shifted into more of the mature feminine. And I got interested in wisdom, which we kind of opened some of this speaking about, like coming into our wisdom and eldership and being able to give back to others and to kind of midwife in this new paradigm that's coming in, and to kind of be maybe the beacon, the lighthouse, or whatever it is that we're doing, right? Midwifing in this new age that I believe we're in, that's just beginning, and it's very turbulent, isn't it? So to be at my 5 right now, yeah, I think it's almost generous, because there's so much more, I believe, that I have inside of me. And there are times I feel frustrated by that, like, oh, there's so much. But I think, like you, having, you know, motherhood's been such a huge part of my life because of the age gap of my children. I've been full-time mothering for 20 years. You know, many parents have their children close together, and then as they get to teenagers and then older, they kind of collectively go through that process, and then the parents get more and more free time, right? Like they get more and more detached. Whereas as soon as one of mine was getting older and more independent, another one came along that was very dependent. And so for me, it's been a huge, like half of my life has been dedicated to supporting some other beings that have needed my support. So, and I still have, you know, I have a 10-year-old, so I'm still very much needed. So my unsung song, I can feel it. I can feel it's there. And sometimes it's a really frustrating feeling. There's actually a movie, so back to my movie references.
Oh my God, we got Click.
And now we've got a more feminine one. This next one, I haven't seen it, but I want to see it, but it's not come out in the UK yet. Is Angelina Jolie has starred in this movie about, I think it's an Italian woman, Maria.
Is in the movie now, in the cinema now?
I don't know if it's come out yet here.
No,
it's in America.
It's not come out here.
It's not come out yet.
Oh my God, I want to see it. I've seen in the underground advertised.
Yeah, so Angelina Jolie plays this real life woman and it's all about her voice, and when you see her being interviewed about playing this role, and they ask her questions, she said that she didn't know she had this voice, and she took singing lessons, and the movie's made with a compilation of, some of it is the authentic soundtrack from the actual singer, this famous singer, and some of it is overlaid with Angelina Jolie singing. And she, in her interview, she says that she wishes every woman could have this experience and find their voice. And she doesn't just mean singing, you know, she's talking metaphorically as well. And playing this woman who, you know, has this massive operatic voice inside of her, and what happens in this woman in the last years of her life, because she dies quite young. That's a really interesting story to me. So while we've been talking about these themes of like the unsung song, I want to see that. I want to see that
together. So we got Click and we got Maria. Yes.
So before we finish up, I want to just honor you for your authenticity and vulnerability, for sharing, you know, your real deep truths.
It's important
in this
to me.
Conversation. Is there anything you'd like to share before we finish?
I think
that was very clear, wasn't it?
I think, I'm just really, really honored to be here, and I hope that this conversation has opened up something for you. Maybe we planted a little seed. Maybe there was a particular things that you heard. So what I invite you to is get that little seed and maybe write it down or take an action on it, and do not just let the wisdom or an insight that you heard here just finish when you stop listening to us. So let's take this seed, plant it, and let's see the fruit, the plant grow. And I wish that for you, that nothing shall pass you by in life. Take whatever you need and treasure whatever you need, and cultivate it, give it water so that it grows, and it doesn't go ends in the graveyard. You know, we don't need the graveyard.
We want to add to that graveyard. Thank you so much. I love that. You know, and I think that's very much Debora. It really sums up Debora. It was like, she's not just gonna give you her wisdom and her stories and her experience and her insight. She's gonna give you that little push as well to say, now do something with it. Now take it and run with it and do something with it. So I love that you ended it with that.
It's like, I'm the action woman. It's like, you're not running
action.
You're not running away without action.
Not just listening to a podcast. You're going to go and take action. So
Excuse me, I'm just chilling,
Just
listening to a
listening.
podcast, and you tell me to take an action. I'm like,
Thank
well,
you so much, Deborah.
thank you.
How
Thank
to
you.
get in touch with Deborah will be in whatever links, wherever you're watching this on the platform. So Deborah's on social media, and we'll
With
pop
my
the
name,
links
Debora
there.
Luzi.
You'll be able to find her. So thank you so much, darling.
Thank you.
Aw.
Lovely.
So much love.
Thank you. Thank you so
you.
much. And thank you
Bye.
for being with us.